How do you think about this thing we call fitness?
Well, first of all, Andrew, is strength is the mother quality of all the other qualities.
Strength training.
Strength training.
Strength training.
The strength training prescription, because once we cross mid-30s, training is no longer just about looking fit. As women, our physiology starts shifting long before menopause. We're talking about much more dangerous things. Strength training is not optional anymore after 35. So it's never too late. Most women don't realize you can lose anything from 3 to 8% of muscle per decade starting in your 30s. And the strength training prescription. So today we're actually going to be talking about, of course, an important topic, strength training. It's particularly for women over 35. Now, we're not going to be getting into what really happens if you don't strength train. Yes, we will touch upon it a little bit, but mostly how can you kind of plan your strength training, because it definitely changes after 35, right? And this we're speaking not from the perspective of, a trend or aesthetics, but we generally want to give you a prescription that you can follow along absolutely anywhere. Because once we cross mid-30s, training is no longer just about looking fit. I mean, it's amazing that we can look fit. Aesthetic is important, but it also becomes about protecting the metabolism, protecting your bones, your confidence, your muscles, and most importantly, long-term independence, right? So what really changes after 35? For some of us, it's after 35, for some, a little later. Now, as women, our physiology starts shifting long before menopause, right? Estrogen begins to fluctuate. Progesterone often declines way earlier than we expect. Sleep becomes lighter. Stress tolerance changes. And alongside all this, we begin losing a lot of the skeletal muscle mass. And that process is called sarcopenia, and every human is going to go through that, right? And research actually shows you can lose anything from 3 to 8% of muscle per decade starting in your 30s, and post-menopause, actually maybe after like 55, 60, it simply accelerates. So here's what most women don't realize, that muscle is not just for your tone. It actually is for multiple things, starting with your insulin sensitivity, blood sugar, metabolic rate, joint stability, and hormonal resilience. Now, we all know as we age, the falls that happen, especially after 60, 65, those falls most often in a very short period of time leads to death. So we're not even talking about, just a fat gain becomes easier or energy becomes unpredictable. We're talking about much more dangerous things. And like I said, long-term independence, right? Injury risk, all of those. Now, here is why strength training is not optional anymore after 35. It is going to be your preventive medicine, and hence we call it a prescription. So let's start by talking about, of course, for women, the first and foremost, the hormone connection, right? We need to understand the hormone connection before we even plan our strength training after 35. Like I said, your main character, estrogen, the hormone estrogen, plays a supremely important role in repair and bone health, right? And as it fluctuates during menopause, recovery takes a backseat. And trust me when I say this, because I can feel it at this point, right? I am perimenopausal. I train extremely hard because of the races, and I feel the recovery being slower, right? And progesterone supports nervous system calm, right? And now when it declines, you may feel more wired, more inflamed, just more sensitive to everything. So, and if we layer this with very high intensity interval training on top of your work stress and family and poor sleep, cortisol will rise chronically. And that becomes a big problem. Now, when your cortisol is consistently or constantly elevated, you see that fat gain around the belly, your thyroid gets disrupted, your sleep gets disrupted, and overall, your recovery and repair at a muscle and bone level just slows down. And this is why, again, women over 35 don't train harder, but we need to train smarter. Okay? Remember, your 30s and 40s are not a decline, they're a transition. And strength training is how you move through that transition. Okay? Now let's get into the movement patterns that everybody, most importantly, every woman over 35 must train. Okay? Now, training can feel confusing, it can feel complicated or sometimes overwhelming. And we want to simplify that today and tell you the 5 and plus 1, because the last one that I'm going to be talking about most often is not fully spoken about, right? So don't fall for those trendy workouts that you keep seeing on social media, or that people just talk about, or just people do out of FOMO. No, there is a foundational pattern, and these are the 5 patterns I'm going to be talking about. So get it right. Squat, hinge, push, pull, carry, right? And the last one, which nobody talks about, is rotation. Now let's get into the details. Now you got to train these consistently, okay? You will cover strength, bone health, posture, and functional independence. Now squat is your foundation. You do that from the time you move from crawling to sitting. So every time you sit and stand, you're squatting, right? And squats train your quadriceps, your glutes, your hamstrings, your core stabilizers. So they actually improve your bone density and a lot of your hip strength, critical as estrogen declines, ladies. So remember, squat. So wherever you train, at home, at a gym, or a personal trainer, you need to ensure that you're squatting a lot, and you start with the basics, body weight, and then move into a weighted goblet squat. And then if the space allows, move into your front squats and back squats. But remember, control before you start loading, but progressive loading is important. Best is to do it with a coach. Next one, hinge. Why would we hinge or bend forward? Protect your back. Now the hinge pattern, of course, the classic example is a deadlift. It strengthens your posterior chain, which is all of your back. So your glutes, your hamstrings, your back muscles. Now this improves, your lifting mechanics, your back resilience, and general glute activation. And posterior strength is supremely critical again as we age. So a strong hinge is back pain prevention. And this is not just about deadlifting heavy, by the way. You can add even resistance band hinge exercises too. So just hinge as much as you can. It's a normal movement that our body is used to. Push, upper body strength and bone health. Now we all know women don't have a lot of upper body strength when we compare to our lower body, right? And typically push-ups are not just your arm exercises. They do train your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, and a lot of your core, and the serratus anterior for shoulder health. They also stimulate bone density in the upper body, and something women are more vulnerable to losing, right? And you have to modify this very intelligently. You can do wall push-ups, you can do incline push-ups, you can do it on the bench, you can do it on the floor, wherever it is, but learn to do your push-ups because they are gold. And generally a lot more push exercises, right? Because shoulder stability and strength is important, because again, with menopause, you tend to get a lot of frozen shoulders. So exercises with push and pull can really strengthen. Pull will help you a lot strengthening your upper back, your rear shoulders, your postural muscles, because you're pulling. So you're retracting your shoulders, so your back is going to get stronger as well. So balanced push and pull keeps your shoulders super healthy. Core and carries, right? No one talks about carry. Everyone talks about core. But when you carry, it is a lot of stability. And this stability beats any sort of crunches. So for women, 35 plus, especially postpartum, and as we age, perimenopausal and all of that, core training is really about stability training and not doing 100 crunches. So we're talking planks, we're talking dead bugs, we're talking bird dogs, we're talking farmer carries, right? Carries are really underrated magic. Now they improve your grip strength, which actually translates to longevity as well. Your posture, your pelvic floor coordination, and full body stability. So even hanging on the bar or hanging on a wall, all of these things can improve grip strength. Strong core means spinal support and great pelvic health. It's not just about your abs, right? And now I'm going to add the sixth pattern, which very, very, very few people talk about. Rotation, also anti-rotation. Now, the human movement isn't just up and down, right? We're not always just getting up and going down. It is a lot of rotational work. When we walk, we're rotating. When we run, we're rotating. When we throw, we lift, we reach out. When we're moving out of cars, everything has rotational work. So ignoring rotation is also one reason why women and everyone really can experience lower back discomfort, SI joint irritation, pelvic floor strain, also shoulder dysfunction, right? Again, when estrogen fluctuates, tendons start getting stiffer, your joint stability can also feel different. So when you add controlled rotational training, it really helps maintain the hip and thoracic mobility and your core stability. Now, consciously start adding them. They're simple, but not everyone and everywhere is going to focus on rotation. So you need to ask out loud. And if you train these 6 patterns, like maybe 2 to 4 times a week, and gradually progressing, what we call progressive overload, you are building resilience for the decades ahead of you, right? Yeah, it's that simple. So we spoke about squat, hinge, push, pull, carry, and rotation, also with anti-rotation. Now let's talk about the intensity, right? We want to talk about intensity because after 35, you want to really change the intensity, especially if you're not training for a race. And trust me, why I say that particularly is because I am training for a bunch of races. I'm 45 and my training intensity is extremely high. So I have to give a lot of extra effort into my recovery because it is not easy. And I tell most of my women above 35 or above 40 that do not fall into the HIIT trap, right? Right now, I feel like I'm in there, but I know why I need it right now, and it will change in a few months. But your daily HIITs, boot camps, excessive cardio, layered on top of, work stress, parenting, sleep trouble, it creates a chronically elevated stress load in the body. And your body is not going to be able to differentiate between the stress that's coming from deadlines and the stress that's coming from sprints on a treadmill. It just understands stress. So what happens when cortisol is high or your stress hormone keeps going high? Your fat loss drops. You can't really work on fat loss. Your sleep gets worse. Your inflammation in the body will start increasing and all of bloat, etc. The thyroid conversion will slow down and your cravings will rise. This is honestly not a willpower issue, it's physiology, and the sooner we understand, the better it is going to be for us. So I'll give you one simple, smart weekly structure, okay? I'm not even going to give you this or that. I'm going to straightforward tell you that if you are a woman over 35, here's what you should do. 4 times a week of strength training, 2 conditioning days. But remember, those 2 conditioning days, both don't need to be high intensity. You can do 1 day of sprint intervals, 1 day of maybe zone 2 conditioning, or if your body can handle it, you can do 2 days of sprint intervals maybe, okay? So 4 days of strength training, 2 days of conditioning, 10,000 plus steps every day. Basically, I'm saying be active through the day, and 1 true rest day for the soul. Yes, you can do some mobility and myofascial release and stuff. So honestly, it is quality prioritized over just feeling exhausted and burnt out. And I'm there sometimes. I feel like I'm exhausted more than, I've gotten quality training. But then these are things I sign up for myself, so I can't do much. Also, very importantly, until you have a menstrual cycle, try to sync your workouts accordingly. I know it's hard, but when you start seeing the benefits that come out of training hard during your follicular and ovulation phase and kind of dialing it down during your luteal and menstrual cycle can really make a difference for your mood, recovery, all of that, right? What we need is really consistency, not constantly hard training. So remember, lifting is not going to make you bulky. Women do not accidentally build excessive muscle. It's not possible. Like, look at me. Don't I still look like lean and petite? Yes, I do, but I've been training for a decade. We have significantly lower testosterone levels, so we cannot. Of course, if I find flex with a lot of effort, then maybe you'll see those muscles pop. But in reality, even after a decade plus of training, of strength training, I still don't look bulky, and you will not. It is what you need for your longevity. Second thing, research consistently shows that women in their 50s and 60s and beyond can also improve muscle mass, bone density, balance, independence through resistance training. It's never too late. My aunt started resistance training at the age 60, and today she's 72, and she gives a 25-year-old a run for their money, right? She does headstands, she back squats, she deadlifts. She started at 60, so it's never too late. And last but not least, I just need more cardio. I mean, I had a friend recently visiting from US, and she came into the gym. She was doing a strength class. In between the strength class, she ran to the treadmill, okay? Why? Because she's like, I cannot. Like, I like to do weights, but I can't do very heavy weights. I like to do moderate or light weights, but I need to, do cardio. I mean, honestly, cardio is great for heart health. But muscle is what protects your metabolism, right? So without muscle, cardio alone cannot prevent age-related decline. So don't be that typical cardio bunny. Do it twice, like I said, your conditioning days. And that's enough, right? Remember, your body is not broken, okay, after 35. It is adapting. Your 30s and 40s are not the beginning of the end, really. They're the beginning of training with more wisdom. It's very, very simple. You have to embrace the change. You have to start understanding that this is a transition that I have to deal with and I do not have a choice. So the more at peace you are with the fact that I'm going to deal with this phase for the next decade, the happier you will be and the easier the transition will be. And talk to people, talk to women of the same age. Don't deal with it on your own, because that's not how it works. As a community, today more and more people are talking about women's strength training, perimenopause, menopause. So it's easier when you talk to seek help, and there are different types of help out there, which we will talk about maybe in other episodes. Strength training is one of the main one and most easy to add. But the HRT treatments and a lot of the other treatments we will talk in our future episodes. But this is your simple strength prescription, right? Lift with intention and age with power.